Today we look at the Dark Eldar, even others of his own kind fear, for now he is something more and collects skulls with a secret purpose. His realm is one of darkness and shadow, and mandrakes. He is the king of them, Kheradruakh The Decapitator. Let's start with who are the Mandrakes. They move amongst the shadows. Some say they are a union between Daemon and Dark Eldari. I wouldn't put it past them. Or they were made by a talented Haemonculi of the Wych Cult of Grief, and for their skills they are often hired by Archons for assassination or for some other duplicitous means. And who is their king? He is a being of terror amongst the alleyways and shadows of the Dark Eldar capital, and has been known to take work as an assassin, taking the heads of his employer's choice, but demanding a high price in souls for the service. This being might once have been of the Eldar race, but if it were, then time and strange tides have changed it greatly. Its skin is as black as pitch, its eyes are merely empty sockets of deeper shadow, its hair is as pallid as cobwebs. An additional pair of long, sinewy arms sprout from its shoulders, and cradle a straight, sharp sword of dark metal. This is Kheradruakh, he who hunts heads, who's also called the Decapitator. Even amongst the Mandrakes, the Decapitator is a dark legend, and a patron saint of stealthy murder. Kheradruakh has collected heads for some time immemorial, serving no master but his own strange agenda, and we'll be trying to explain that as we go deeper into the video, so stick with me. He kills lowborn and highborn without prejudice. He even hunts among the slave races, searching for suitable additions to his collection. Not one in 1,000 of his victims does Kheradruakh deem perfect enough to be placed in his inner sanctum. This vast hemispherical chamber is lined with the flensed skulls of his victims, each one carefully placed so that their empty sockets are focused at a point in space before Kheradruakh's days. The Decapitator has laboured remorselessly down long millennia to complete this macabre collection. Each chosen skull holds an echo of its former occupant, a soul fragment caught and pinned in place by Kheradruakh for his own ends in a grand design only the Decapitator understands. Of the bare handful that know of Kheradruakh's strange, eldritch obsession, some believe that the skull's collective gaze is aligned on a single spot to slowly wear a hole in reality. They say that with each new addition, the knots of creation loosen a little more at the point where their empty gazes rest. Now the Decapitator gazes with his own sightless eyes at the changes wrought in the fabric of reality, with what, in his alien suite of emotions, might be termed as incredulity and shock. The eyes opening, it has come too soon. The collection is incomplete, and yet the conduit has been formed. The Decapitator was a patient hunter. Indeed, though none more so. He had tracked individuals for decades across scores of different worlds. He had lain patiently in wait for weeks at a time, awaiting the perfect moment to take his prize. He waited while the prey that thought it was not prey fought a Mandrake pack to a standstill. He had witnessed another pack arrive and take their prize for themselves. Intrigued, he descended afterwards to examine the marks the packs had left behind. Kheradruakh found the shaky bastardizations of the bloodline marks the two Mandrake packs had left behind. He knew the signs of old two brother kings with a bitter, long-standing rivalry. That was of no interest to the Decapitator. The outsiders, though, had left marks of their own, declaring fealty to one of the brothers. This additional wrongness only served to irritate Kheradruakh further. Creatures from the outer realm were prey to be hunted, not rivals or broodmates to be dallied with. His instinct had drawn him onwards, as it always did, towards his most perfect prizes. He had trailed the Mandrake pack and its shrinking number of slaves until they reached the stronghold of one of the brothers. Now he waited again, and patiently listened to the whispers on the night breeze. The first brother was destined to fall into his grasp as easily as overripe fruit. The Decapitator could feel it in his bones. The battle beyond the walls formed the perfect distraction, as Kheradruakh slipped between the shadows and angles to gain entry. While the brothers' minions crashed and struggled against one another, the Decapitator quietly slipped through their ranks and made his way to the Vault of Ascension. There he settled into the deeper darkness as patiently as a spider in its web. He could wait until the time was right, wait for the precise moment to strike. It was only a matter of form. The power play of energies, unleashed by the rival siblings, had formed the Decapitator's most dolorous assessments about the forces at work in Aeldari. The brother he had chosen to stalk first had struck unholy pacts with forces outside Aeldari for the strength to keep his throne. The challenger outside had sunk just as low for a chance to usurp it. Kheradruakh's lips curled back over his yellowed fangs at the thought of such shameful compromise. The tainted thinking of the outsiders pervaded everything the brothers did. Power, possessions and rulership were their goal, even if they had to bend their knee to eldritch gods to get them. This was not the way of Aeldari. The Shadow Realm was a dark lover to be embraced, a cruel paramour to be coaxed and worshipped in its own right. It was a place where the purity of darkness and fear compacted like a diamond into something so hard-edged and beautiful that it scarred the mind to grasp it. The idea that Aeldari could be tamed and exploited by naked ambition was a truly offensive concept to him. Kheradruakh found he gripped his long, sharp blade tightly as he waited in the shadows and wondered at the stirring of passions he had long thought to be extinguished. The shadow skein tightened inescapably towards a conclusion. With his forces facing disaster, the defeated king sought to take the coward's path and flee. No guards were in his vault to impede Kheradruakh's progress as he unfolded from his hiding place and struck. He caught the deposed king just as he began to climb the chains to escape. His falling body became entangled in the dark metal links, where it jerked like a grotesque puppet. The Decapitator ignored it as he scooped up his prize and stepped back into the shadows. He was just in time. The chamber doors burst asunder as the other brothers stormed in to claim his worthless throne. Kheradruakh did not wait to see the outcome. He was already speeding to his hidden place, his secret deep in the heart of Aeldari. He would strip the flesh from his prize, taste of the skull and examine it with his own sightless eyes to judge its worth. Then it would join his collection and give proper praise to the dark for all eternity. Or, if it proved unworthy, it would be discarded. Then and only then would he return for the other brother, and later he did, with little resistance. Deep within the shadow realm of Aeldari, the Decapitator squats in his sanctum, turning over the bulbous skull of the fallen brother in his hands. He minutely examines it with his twisted senses, tasting the shadow skein clinging to its surface, ridges and bony orbits. At last he is satisfied, and climbs the row of skulls forming the inner wall of his dome, like sanctum. Kheradruakh feels his way to the correct niche and carefully pushes the Shadow King's skull into position. It comes as no surprise that the appointed spot for the skull is directly opposite that of his twin brother. Their opposing hatreds balanced perfectly. Kheradruakh returns to his days and squats again, his sightless eyes gazing at the hole being born in reality by the stare. The eye has closed again. The false conduit is no more. And yet the Decapitator believes he senses a stirring at the place between worlds. He waits and dreams of dark days to come. And then, my friends, that day arrives. There was a disjunction in Commorragh, and his time had come. A disjunction is when the fabric of the warp gets put into a cocktail with the webway, and it allows demons to enter Commorragh. This one was caused by the birth of Ivrain, who was emissary of the elder god Inead. This caused chaos in the dark Aeldari city with demons pouring in, but for some this was an opportunity. Like a palace made of dominoes, given a single push, Commorragh suffered a chain reaction of disasters. Around the Crucible, the escaped tyrannids that would once have been put down with relative ease carved a red path through the domains of the witch cults. Archon Sithark counter-attacked after a vicious but costly coup staged against the Lords of the Iron Thorn. was beheaded by the shadow creature Kheradruakh. With this singular and grisly kill, the Decapitator finally claimed the last perfect skull he needed for his dark work. Flaying it and licking his trophy clean, he used it to complete the underground ritual he had been obsessively fashioning from the stolen heads of his prey over the last 8 millennia. The gaze of 1,000 perfect skulls met in the middle of his lair and bored a hole in the wall between worlds, opening a gateway to the midnight dimension of the Mandrakes. A morass of shadowy assassins and tenebrous monsters spilled like an inky flood through the streets and slew every soul within a dozen miles. In the space of a single night, that region became the shadow kingdom of the Decapitator, long-lost monarch of the Mandrakes. His was a new reign of terror, his throne set within a sea of living shadow that consumed even the demon invaders that strayed within its grasp. And perhaps now, friends, he will start a new stack of skulls in order to, again, push the boundaries of his realm. And if you liked this video on the Dark Eldari, check this one out.